Good evening and welcome to the Plan Commission ARB for August 18th. If you have any electronic devices, please turn them off at this point. Ryan?
Steve Lichtenfeld,
Here.
Susan Buse,
Here.
Helen DeFate,
Here.
Amy Waldman,
Here.
Jim Arsenault,
Here.
David Gibson.
Here.
Okay, we have minutes from the previous meeting on July 21st. Are there any changes? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We'll move on to new business. 7447 Forsyth. Is the applicant here? On the phone? Okay. Ryan, we'll begin with you.
Subject property is located on the north side of Forsyth Boulevard between Jackson Avenue and Forest Park Parkway. Property has a zoning designation of C2 and is located in the Forsyth Station TOD. The property is developed with a mixed-use commercial structure. The applicant is a ground floor tenant, Berry Box. The applicant is seeking approval for a combination of window coverings and signage, which would cover 26.2% of the window area. The proposal covers less window area than previous tenants and is focused at the top and bottom of the windows, leaving the midsections open. Staff are of the opinion that the proposal would have a minimal visual impact. The proposal includes window signage, which exceeds the limits normally permitted. The applicant is requesting approval via section 425110 modifications. The tenant space features a recessed window, which limits the use of sign types beyond window signage. Staff are of the opinion that there are practical difficulties regarding the location of permitted signs and that the use of window signage is a logical substitute. The quantity of signage proposed is less than the total amount that would be permitted on the front facade otherwise. Staff are of the opinion that the proposal meets the intent of the sign regulations and staff recommend approval as submitted.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cole, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't. I just appreciate the consideration here tonight.
Okay. Has this already been installed?
No, it is not. I was seeking approval before we had Landmark Sign come out and install it for us.
Good, we appreciate that.
Yep.
Okay. When I looked at that area, I certainly agree with the staff report, and I saw no problem with it. The way it's set back, I think the larger letters work very well. So I have no problem. Susan?
I agree with that. I think that it fits very well in that area. So looks good.
Helen?
I like it. I think that's a dark corner there. And what has been there looked like it was maybe not open, had kind of a dead look. This looks great. So yeah, I think I would approve it.
Amy?
I agree with Helen. I think it looks really nice. And I had a little note just to ask about the lighting under there. Just curious about that.
Sure. Yeah, WashU does have their like can lights. They're kind of recessed in that overhang. There is basically lighting that shines down underneath that overhang.
Okay, great. So then it'll be visual. Okay, yeah, I think it looks great.
Okay.
Jim?
I echo the comments before me. I think it's a difficult spot for signage, and I think this is a really successful solution.
David?
Looks great.
Good. Well, we have a staff recommendation to approve as submitted. Do we have a motion to that?
I move that we follow the staff recommendation and give approval for the window coverings and window signage as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cole.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm. We'll move on to items 2 and 3, 8121 Maryland Avenue. Okay, we'll start with the staff report.
Starting with a conditional use permit, the applicant is seeking a conditional use permit to allow for the operation of a copy shop at the project address. The subject property is located on the north side of Maryland between North Brentwood and North Forsyth. The property has a zoning designation of C1 and is located in the Maryland Gateway overlay. The site is currently developed with a one-story commercial building. The proposed hours of operation are 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week. The restaurant measures 1,200 square feet and would include 45 indoor seats. Outdoor dining is proposed and will require separate permitting. The outdoor dining space would measure 120 square feet and include 8 seats. Off-street parking is not required for restaurants located in the central business district measuring less than 3,000 square feet. Deliveries would be made outside of operating hours via the rear alley. The coffee shop will use the existing recycling and garbage pickup services. Staff are of the opinion that proposal meets the requirements contained in the regulations governing conditional uses. The coffee shop is compatible in size and use to buildings in the surrounding area. Proposed hours of operation and methods of deliveries are consistent with other businesses in the area. Based on the information regarding the operation of the use as provided by the applicant, staff are of the opinion that the business is compatible with the surrounding uses. Staff recommend that the Plan Commission recommend approval of the CUP to the Board of Aldermen as submitted.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. This is for the conditional use permit. Do you have anything to add?
Plus for the whole community to bring this kind of the new products in our area. Why is different? Because we bring the product since Colombia, that is the second country with more production and quality in coffee. And you have in less than 15 days, the product very fresh with aromas and flavors, exactly like since the farm to your cup. Is the only difference, and the new structure for the all outdoor building.
Will you grind your own coffee? Grind in the store?
Yeah. Yes. We grind. We have a grinders, and it's very specific only for coffee, tea, and bakery goods.
Well, we're excited to see a new coffee house come in, and your description is very pleasant to hear. I do have a question. In the write-up, it says your deliveries will be made outside of the operating hours. So that would be before 6 a.m. and after 8 p.m.?
I mean, the deliveries is more when I receive from the suppliers the products, right? Because in this moment, I don't have any offer for Dash Door or DoorDash. Yeah, sorry, my son. For DoorDash or Uber Eats. Is only the people enter and request the.
Okay. I have a question for staff. When they indicate hours of operation 6 to 8, do we always hold that deliveries would be before the 6 a.m.?
No, they can happen during the regular business hours as well. We just asked to get an idea of how they intend to operate so that we know what the impacts might be.
Good. Well, they also have an alley behind them,
That's correct.
which really makes it much easier. So as far as the conditional use permit goes, I'm totally in favor of it. Susan?
I agree with that. I can't wait to come and try out your business. Thank you.
Helen?
I agree.
Amy?
Yeah, very excited to have you guys here.
Jim?
No issues.
David?
No concerns. It's great.
Okay. Here again, we have a staff recommendation to approve the conditional use permit and send it on to the Board of Aldermen.
I move that we adopt the staff recommendation and approve the conditional use permit to the Board of Aldermen as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll move on to the architectural review now. Ryan?
The applicant is proposing to construct a covered pergola over the tenant patio space. The pergola will be supported by 2 steel posts and a steel beam. Wood rafters will reside over the beam and perpendicular to the facade. The roof will comprise of flat polycarbonate sheets. The use of a flat roof pergola differs from the nearby awnings. However, nearby awnings are not uniform. Awnings tend to vary in terms of shape, color, and extent. They are typically cloth with metal supports and sloped roof lines. The proposed pergola is a departure of this form. Staff are of the opinion that the use of the pergola will have some visual impact, but that the use of materials are complementary to the surrounding shops. Staff are of the opinion that the proposal is not likely to alter the character of the area and recommend approval as submitted.
Okay, thank you. Any comments on the pergola?
Question that do you have?
Well, I do have a question. Looking at the drawings, it looks like there is a slight slope to it, away from the building toward the street. So it looks like the water will just drop off the edge, the rainwater,
Have a small gutter,
a gutter?
yes, to receive the water, a minimal, but yes, the architect and ensure with have this to put how put the water.
Okay, good. I think that's what we need. So we'll go on. Susan?
I think it looks tasteful. It's interesting. It looks like it's well thought out. Looks good. Thanks.
Ellen?
I have some concerns about it. I like the idea of the pergola. Why did you make it solid?
Why is all? No, I think because one part, we have two space. One that is that is one door, and the other section is the windows. But I'm considering we couldn't put any obstacle there. For that reason, we decided to put very solid the pergola to avoid any issue. Move it, and but if you see in the left, in the bottom, you can see stairs. For that reason, we try to ensure that have total solid safety for any walkers in the place.
What materials are you planning to use?
And metal. And we have a big total stable, the structure. In the plans, you can see. Oh, what better. The goods is only in the up. And the metal will be the structure. Part of the whole pergola. But we combine the three elements and polycarbonate sheet.
What will the underside of the roof look like?
Or below.
And what we put,
Will it be plywood roof?
Out of the pergola right here.
Yeah, when I sit down and look up, what will I see as the finish?
the polycarbonate totally is
Just a
gray.
polycarbonate and then would be. Kind of a similar concept.
have the filter to avoid but you can see.
Okay, so the roof is wood or translucent?
Oh, so it's mostly the roof itself on the upper level is a translucent? Not fully covering it.
Okay, so it's more like a skylight?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, my other question is on your detail. You're attaching the columns to the slab. Can we go to the details? Okay.
Probably SD4.
Yeah. Yeah, SD3 shows. Yeah, in that lower right-hand corner, that circle, that you're attaching to the slab? Or is there a footing on, as shown on SD4?
Helen, that will all be reviewed by our building review department.
Those are concerns that, yeah, the building department will address for your permit. Nothing else.
Kami?
Yeah, I think it looks great. I think it complements the building. I was concerned with, how far it came out because I don't think a lot of them do, but when I walked the street, I noticed that a couple others do come out that far. So I think it will fit in well.
Jim?
Overall, looks wise, I don't have any concerns. My only concern is that polycarbonate sheet. There's a very wide quality in that material. So not having an example here to see today is a little concerning just because it's something that can look very high end, but it's also something that can be produced in a very low end product. So I would want staff to review the specific material before signing off 100% on it. I don't think they should necessarily have to come back to show us specifically, but I would like staff to review.
Polycarbonate. I don't know if you prefer.
It would be more like in person to see like a representation of the thickness and you said like, here we've talked about it being like clear, but then also you say it's smoked. So, the level to it's smoked and, it's just one of these things that in a rendering, it might not necessarily come across it when you see it. There's just other situations where sometimes, something in a rendering looks fairly good and then, it goes through and it gets built and then it's like, oh, maybe that's not quite the image that I had when it came through. So typically we like to see materials here when we're making those decisions. Like I said, I don't think it's necessarily something that rises to the level of saying continue it and have them come back, but I'd like staff to review the specific product to make sure it's something that they feel good with before issuing the permit.
David?
It's a good improvement. I don't have any concerns.
Okay. Following up Jim's comment about having the staff take a look and approve the final polycarbonate texture and color, I think we also should find out how wide those sheets are, because I believe the wood rafters are on 16 inches on center, which means, you could be up to a 48-inch polycarbonate. And I'm only a little concerned because water can leak through the joints. And I think when staff looks at it, we should see, is there an epoxy or something in there to keep water from leaking in directly onto the wood. Okay. We do have, were there any other questions from anyone? Assume no one online. Okay. We do have a staff recommendation to approve as submitted. We'd like to include the sample to the staff of the polycarbonate with the sizing, color, and texture.
I move that we approve as submitted. Sample of the
Polycarbonate.
polycarbon.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, well, we're looking forward to you opening. When do you think?
It's in Oxford.
Oh,
We will have soft opening during I will invite you officially.
well, good luck with it. We're glad to see you opening up here in Clayton. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we can move on to old business, and that's 8141 Pershing. I believe the applicant is here. We will start with the staff report first.
How's everyone doing tonight?
The subject property is located on the north side of Pershing between North Forsyth and North Brentwood. The property is zoned R2 and is in the Clayton Gardens Urban Design District. The property is developed with a single-family home, and the applicant is seeking to construct a residential addition and detached garage. The application is submitted in conjunction with an application for architectural review, and both applications were previously presented at the June 2nd, 2025 meeting, and were continued to allow for revisions. The following site plan revisions have occurred since the previous submission. The revised proposal has an impervious coverage measurement of 54.98%. This revision meets the impervious coverage requirement for the R2 district and Clayton Gardens Urban Design District. The applicant has revised the driveway footprint to reduce the turnaround area in the rear yard and add a ribbon along the side of the building. Staff have provided an additional analysis of the proposed driveway design in the architectural review staff report. Revised drainage areas are projected to decrease or have no change. Outstanding SWIP comments have been addressed. Staff recommend approval with the following conditions. 1, that the applicant shall contribute to the City Forestry Fund compensatory with the requirements of Section 405-4110C2. 2, to ensure the future maintenance and operation of the dry well and ribbon drive, the applicant shall record a deed restriction noting the location and maintenance requirements of the dry well system and ribbon drive and shall submit proof of the recording prior to issuance of a building permit. And 3, the applicant shall provide a percolation test report conducted by a qualified geotechnical engineer. The report must assess the performance of the proposed dry well based on an anticipated impact of a 15-year, 20-minute storm event. Should the results indicate that the proposed dry well is insufficient to accommodate the stormwater runoff generated by this event, the applicant shall be required to upsize the dry well accordingly to ensure adequate performance and compliance with the applicable stormwater management standards.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
You'd like to give us your name, your address, and anything you'd like to add. And this is site plan review right now.
We made the adjustments that the city requested, and we reduced it down to 54.98%. We cleaned up the drawings, and we're here looking for an approval.
Well, as far as site plan review goes, you've certainly massaged it so that it fits within all the current requirements.
Correct, because the city believed we didn't have a lot that was a disadvantage. You know, last time you told us that, 50 by 120 was very common, but on Pershing Avenue, that's not true. All right, if you look at 8144, 8140, 8136, 8132, 8128, 8124, all around us, they're all 6,272 square feet. All right, so that's what we felt we had a disadvantage. We were requesting a slight overage of 3%, which you declined, so we went back and we adjusted everything accordingly. We're not asking for any exception on impervious materials.
Well, it does appear that many of your neighbors have 60-foot wide lots, if I remember correctly.
They're wider.
As
and that's
opposed to
a
your
disadvantage.
50.
Yeah.
And that is the difference. But we do have rules and we need to stay within the rules
And that's
also.
what we
So
did.
we appreciate you coming back for that. I'll just take a minute to say, I think that we need to reduce our impervious coverage from where it is right now, but that would not affect your site plan review. Susan?
Yeah, I am a little concerned that there are no trees and it's right up to the impervious amounts. Again, I think that the increased issues we have in the city and broader than that with water and with canopy are real. I don't know I know the city has goals around about what we want the canopy to be around the city. I don't know what this is, a neighborhood meeting, this goals around there. Do you know?
I do not know off the top of my head.
So I appreciate that the adjustments have been made, but again, they go right up to the limits, and because it's those two things together, it does make me hesitate. My concerns, I'll listen to what everyone else has to say.
Ellen?
No concerns. You've met what we asked.
Kami?
I do echo the concerns about the trees, but you guys do not have any existing, is that accurate?
What was the question?
You don't have any existing trees that you're tearing down or anything right now?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
So right now, existing trees, you don't have any
Do you have any what?
existing trees?
I don't know what's wrong. I can't even hear.
Do you have any trees that you're removing to build your addition?
Do I have any plans to what?
Do you have any existing trees currently in your backyard that you're going to tear out?
Okay, so you're not taking any away?
Yeah.
Okay, and then I guess my only other concern is the location of your trash. Just because, I mean, the people will have to traipse across your grass to
I
get,
guess I could move them every Tuesday to the front.
okay, just so,
Yeah, not a problem. I do that right now for the trash people. I move them to make it
Okay.
a little bit easier.
okay,
So
thanks.
we just wanted to hide it.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, there's just no path to it. That's, okay.
Jim?
I had some difficulties reading some of the plans. And one of the things I couldn't figure out, at least site plan, I did have some concerns about the trash too, but I will say even at my house, they have to pull the trash through the grass to get to the yard the way my house is sited. So there is a new 6-inch pop-up emitter, and that seems very close to the dry well. I don't know if the dry well was necessarily sized with accepting additional rainwater from that pop-up, and I wasn't quite clear on what that pop-up is connected to.
we can ask the civil engineer to make those adjustments to the dry well if
To
needed.
clarify, Jim, are you referring to the pop-up that's directly to the left of the well on this plan?
Correct.
That's the pop-up for the dry well. So if the dry well were to overflow, that's where the water would come out of.
Okay. Okay, and I couldn't quite pull that from the drawing, so I appreciate that. Yeah, that's site plan wise, yeah, that's pretty much it. I appreciate you pulling it under that 55%. I think I echo some of the other comments where it's like, 54.98%. It's like, it's right there, and I mean, it took everything possible, but yeah, I appreciate you doing that work.
David?
I don't have any questions or concerns on the site plan.
Okay. I'm sure there's no one else online. No, okay, thank you. Do you agree with all three recommendations that were read by Ryan initially?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we do have a staff recommendation to approve with those following three conditions. Susan?
I move that we approve the revised site plan with the conditions recommended by staff.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We'll move on to the architectural review.
Following architectural changes were provided since the previous submission. The applicant is requesting approval of alternative compliance for the greater use of siding on several facades. The applicant has modified the proposal to extend brick to the roof gable of the front facade of the garage per the staff recommendation in the previous report. This is likely to lower the visual height by distinguishing the gable and the dormers and by reducing the appearance of the upper level. All facades which face the street meet the facade material requirements. The staff are of the opinion that the proposed use of siding will not have an impact on the neighborhood character as perceived from the street. Driveways in Clayton Gardens are consistent in form and material. They often are narrow and are comprised of city standard concrete. Newer homes commonly have exposed aggregate. Ribbon drives are not common and examples are limited in Clayton. The applicant is proposing a ribbon drive behind the building line. This is likely to limit the view of the ribbon drive and would keep the front setback consistent with the surrounding area. Staff are of the opinion that the use of the ribbon drive behind the building line is likely to have a minimal visual impact. Staff recommend approval is submitted.
Okay. Any further comments on architectural review?
No, so we are asking for a slight exception for the amount of material and brick that is being used in the back of the home, as you can kind of see in the pictures right here. We're slightly out of compliance in the back, but it's an improvement in the material that we currently have today. And the extension that was built in the 1970s, it's a really old, white, I don't even know what it's, some sort of, ugly white material. And we are planning on using, hardy board, James Hardy board, batten board to match the architectural, characteristics of neighborhood and people, what they've done around us as well. So we'd greatly appreciate if you could approve that as well. It is a wonderful material with a long lasting life, and it does look beautiful.
Okay. I saw no problem with that James Hardy material going in there, which I believe agrees basically with the staff report. And so I really saw no problem. But I did have a question. I think I read fiberglass windows. Are you replacing all the windows in the house?
Currently, the home, we do have Pella Impervia windows, which are fiberglass throughout the whole home. 8 of them are going to be reused. And then we plan on purchasing exact same thing, Pella Impervia, which is a fiberglass material. They are black on black. When look at Consumer Reports recommendations, you want to use fiberglass when you have black material because of the heat expansion. So that's the same material we're going to do. So the homes already has new windows. We're just going to match them. The exact same one, Pella Impervia.
So it is a basic fiberglass material, but you're matching the existing ones.
They're already in the home, exact same ones.
Okay, we'll go on. Susan?
I don't have anything.
Helen?
I have a question about the stair on the garage, the exterior stair.
Yes.
Could you put that on the other side? The metal stair?
We could, but we don't want to. Unfortunately, we tried looking at both ways, and the backyard is so small as is. So we worked with Ryan, we worked with, everyone in the city of Clayton and the building department. And they said as long as we put a 1-hour firewall on the left-hand side on both sides and we use metal stairs, we could do it on the left-hand side. So that's what we wanted to do. We could technically do both sides, but we really want to keep it on the left to maximize the space that we have given our small lot. All right, and the building did approve that with the 1-hour fire, 1-hour fire rated material, which we did put on the plans as well, right, for that specific reason.
Okay. Nothing further.
Amy?
As far as the hardy board, do you have like what that material
I do.
looks like? Yeah. Okay, so it's pretty dark. And you're just, okay, and so that the design idea is just to kind of match like your
Yes.
bay windows, accents and things like that. Okay. Okay, thanks.
So really very little of the James Hardy party board would be seen from the street. Most of it faces north and a little on the east and a little on the west, correct? Okay. Amy, anything else? Jim?
All right, in the Clayton Gardens Urban Design District, accessory structures are limited to 1.5 stories. So in my understanding, upper part of 1.5 stories has to be less square footage than the bottom part. In this case, it's equal, so I would view that as a 2-story structure. Would you see that differently, or?
It's a 1.5 story structure because the ceiling's not gonna be that tall. All right. Given the material that they used to make a fire rated, it's gonna be slightly smaller right there. And plus you have to do the entrance on the left-hand side. Right? We did comply with the city's request to try to reduce the visibility of it by carrying the brick all the way in the front to the top, right? So that'll get it slightly smaller than if you look at, this is virtually the exact same garage that was approved and built on, what streets, like 2 streets down from us, right? And about 6 inches shorter than theirs in height.
Well, height-wise, it complies. So I believe that the height requirement is 16 feet, and this is 15 feet, 8 inches. So
15.5, and we are a little bit under.
yeah, so height-wise is not an issue, but the top floor is the same square footage as the bottom floor. So explain to me how that qualifies for 1.5 stories instead of 2 stories. That's the definition of 1.5 stories versus a 2-story. Typically with 1.5 stories, you're building into an attic space and it's a smaller footprint than the floor below it. That's why it makes 1.5 stories. And I believe at least the reasoning for something like that is to shrink kind of the footprint of those accessory structures to not have them visually take up so much weight. I believe even in the staff report, it says calling this 1.5 stories would be generous. So I'm trying to say, explain to me what makes it 1.5 stories versus 2 stories in your mind when they're the exact same square footage on the bottom floor and the top floor.
So, I mean, take a look at it right there. If you look at that bottom left-hand picture, right? There are gonna be parts of the roof. I'm 6'3". I'm not gonna be able to stand completely up. Right, so I look at it as like 1.5 stories because probably a good 3-4 feet on each side, I'm not gonna be able to stand completely, given the current structure and the roof line. I would not look at it as a 2-story structure, even though the footprint looks the same, the usable space is gonna be slightly less.
Okay, yeah, I personally don't think that meets the qualifications for 1.5 stories. I also think if you look, the sloped part of the roof is all in the eave. So really, if these eaves were removed, you basically would have a double height structure there. I really think to be in compliance with 1.5 stories, that dormer needs to be shrunk. And I think if that dormer were shrunk, it would also achieve, you wouldn't have as much hardy on either side and would possibly be in compliance as far as materials go. Now, as far as the alternative compliance, there needs to be an unusual circumstance to approve an alternative compliance according to the code. So what unusual circumstance are you citing
What was it, last part?
to approve there has to be a 75% primary material on each face. So in this case, that would be brick. To go under that for alternative compliance, there has to be some sort of unusual circumstance. So what is the unusual circumstance that you're citing as part of that alternative compliance?
Yeah, so what we're stating is unusual circumstances, the current structure of the existing extension. it's using really ugly material and we plan on increasing and using like hardy board. So that's our argument for it, right? And it does match with the windows, the color impervious windows, and we did like this design, better overall. And that was our, justification for why we went with, black and red combination. Brick and then the hardy board.
Okay, do you think a larger percentage of hardy board would be, what would make a larger percentage of hardy board equal or better to if the house was comprised of 75% brick on each facade?
I mean, if I could go more, I would go more hardy board. We like the way it looks overall, but we're just asking for an exception, the slight exception in the back, because it's not visible to anybody, from the front. We're not touching the front of our home. No one's going to be able to see it. There's so much obstruction in the back as is, with all the massive homes and new homes that were built, you can't even see the back of our house from Kingsbury at all. So that's our justification. We love the way this design looks, and it is an improvement over what is existing there today. Right? And it's a pretty nice material.
I would agree with you. That's a nice material, and I would agree with you. It's probably an improvement over the siding that's there, but alternative compliance requires that you list some sort of unusual circumstance. I personally don't believe there's an unusual circumstance here. I'm open to such an argument. I really wish you could have an architect or a builder or the people who helped you with it have kind of here to kind of help make that argument. But we don't, but I just don't see how this clears the bar of alternative compliance. I don't see how this structure is a story and a half. I just think it needs a little more work to kind of fall within the requirements personally.
David?
I don't have any questions.
Can I ask one more thing?
Sure.
What is the roof color? What are you putting on the roof?
What is what?
The roof,
Roof
the seal,
material?
yeah.
Right.
I saw you walk in with that.
An exact match to the existing roof that we have. So it's just what we have today, this is the exact same material that was
Okay, thank you.
so different. Roof was replaced, I think, 6 years ago. Was to we contacted Ferguson Roofing. They said the color match would be pretty close. There's going to be some sunlight and fade, but for the most part, it should be identical. You like?
No, that's all right. I'll tell you the concern. It's not, I agree with the concerns you're expressing with the amount of material. And part of that is, building on the permeability and the canopy and everything else. When you're putting these dark colors on, it's a heat island effect as well on that property. So I was just wondering what you were doing with the colors up there as well.
The brick will match the existing brick on the house.
95%, really close, not a perfect match. It's almost impossible to get a perfect match. We spoke with multiple different brick companies. Missouri Brick came out, they found this one, which is they could find. And it is, again, not perfect, but 90 to 95% of the match. If something better comes up, we'll obviously use it, but this is what we want to use because it's pretty close.
Well, it's difficult to match
Yep.
To a 70-year-old house.
Yep.
We understand that. I too would agree with Jim about the amount of the hardy board on there. But I think the way it's situated, it really will not be seen by anyone else, except maybe directly behind you. And also, it changes the cost drastically if you have to put more brick on. So I'm okay with it, and I think it should go as shown.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Well, here again, we have a staff recommendation to approve as submitted. Do we have a motion?
I move for approval as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Ryan got that? Okay. Okay, when will we see the work commence?
Well, we will probably start in a few months. Now we got to get the plans ready for construction, which they're not there yet, but they will be with the structural engineer. So thank you very much for the opportunity. We absolutely love Clayton, and we are looking forward to expanding our home and living here.
Well, good luck with it.
Thank you.
Okay, we've come to the discussion session. And Anna, are you going to lead that or Ryan? Okay.
All right, so to clarify, for the first one with the sign regulations, we would actually like to push that one off to a later date. There's a couple of questions that came up that I'd like to answer internally before I bring that back to you guys.
Do we need to vote on that?
It's just a discussion item, so it'll be back on shortly. Okay, I'll do the first couple slides here before I turn over Ryan. Okay, so this will be a refresh for David and Susan from the last board meeting, but we are excited. We've kicked off another task from implementation for our comprehensive plan, and this is looking at neighborhood standards. So we are going to give you an introduction to what we're doing when we look at neighborhood standards and how we're going to do it so that you guys are aware as this process moves forward. The exact key result that we are targeting is reviewing architectural guidelines against the character and development pattern of different neighborhoods to establish appropriate neighborhood identity standards. So underneath that are a few other key results within the comprehensive plan that either directly link to this idea of understanding our character or would be a next step of implementing regulations such as infill development standards. Now, during the process of Clayton Tomorrow, the idea of protecting neighborhood character came up over and over and over again. And at the same time, we also heard a lot of sentiment, like our applicant here earlier tonight, that wanted the ability to present some more of their personal design preferences as they continued to improve their house, even though those design preferences might be a departure from what people think of when they look at historic character. So internally, when we approached this, we decided we actually need to start with identifying what character even means for areas. When people say protect the identity of our neighborhood, what does that even look like when you look at the neighborhood patterns? What does that look like when you just talk to people? And what are our current regulations doing when we think about character? So feedback, like I mentioned, went a lot of different ways. We heard a lot about protect our neighborhood, but we just don't know what this unique character is. We also heard a lot about character in relation to the size and density, and sometimes it was in relation to material choices. Sometimes it was related to design. So we needed to take a step back before we go jumping to actually writing any sort of identity standards. First, we want to evaluate character. So how are we going to do that internally as staff? We first decided what is prevailing character. We're starting almost with the hypothesis that each residential neighborhood has a prevailing character. So if we start with saying they do have a prevailing character, now we need to figure out what that is. And it could be in some instances that neighborhoods share the same character. In some instances, they're really unique. So we wanted to evaluate a few of the criteria that we heard from residents when they use the word character. So we're looking at building form massing, we're looking at materials, height of structures, roof lines and roof designs, the overall style, looking at really general categories, the garage, where is it located, how is it constructed, the size, the overall density of the home, the square footage of that building onto a lot, or the density of units per lot, depending on the residential zoning. So we're going to collect, we're going to collect information on all of these data points internally as staff. What I really want to stress, and one of the reasons that we're presenting this to you, what we're doing first, is because we're not hiring an outside consultant. So we are not hiring somebody who specializes in writing historic preservation or reviewing architecture. We're taking it up to a higher level and using internal staff, as we have our expertise with zoning codes and how our codes are currently written and with general urban design principals to try and do a lot of this in-house. So once we collect this data, we'll compare it back to where we stand with all of our existing regulations, guidelines, and goals, and then try and figure out what the next step forward is. So that's generally what we're trying to do is solve this question of what is or is there prevailing character in a neighborhood. And now Ryan is going to talk through how we're going to do that.
Righty, so an item to kind of keep in the back of your head is with this is what is the relationship between neighborhood character and redevelopment? Neighborhood character applies to all properties. It's going to be especially relevant as we look at new homes that are going to come along. So this map on the left is one that you may have seen before previously in discussions. I'd like you to think of this as like an early version of this map. It definitely needs refining, but the darker blue that you see on this map are going to be properties that are more susceptible to demolition and redevelopment. Factors that went into that are aspects of the property values. So what's the value of the land compared to the value of the structure on top of it? How old is this structure? How large is this structure? Is there a character of development nearby? And so these are areas that might be more susceptible to a changing character over time. And then on the right here with the green, I believe this is older structures. These are where you're going to see the prevalence of older structures in town. And then on the bottom right here, these are the neighborhood character areas that came out of the comprehensive plan. They sort of follow some neighborhood subdivision boundaries, but are more aligned with where people sort of feel that they identify with their neighborhood. So a part of this is going to be collecting a lot of data. We need a lot of data to tackle these goals. We need to understand the specifics of what these neighborhoods look like and if there are any patterns, and do those patterns align with the existing zoning and existing design guidelines? Yes or no? Are we good with that, or do we want something different? And so we've identified this series of data points that were discussed earlier, like the the size of a home or the type of roof, something like that. And we are collecting those data points using GIS. This is a tool that we have built in-house. It's an interactive tool that we can use either on our phones or we can use it on a desktop. And it actually allows us to go in and select a property and actually see sorry, it's been a little slow on me, guys. Actually see these different aspects of the property, and then we can edit them. We can actually go through and we can take a look at each property, and we can collect all of those variables, all of those data points. We're kind of each of us staff are taking specific areas. So I started with the moorlands because we're trying to maintain as much consistency as possible, because it's, each of us could take a look at this and might have a slight difference, but we are using a rubric to try to stay as aligned as possible, where we have identified okay, these are all the roof types, which one does it most match? Here's all the architectural types, which one does it most match? So we're trying to maintain as much consistency as possible. But let me get back to PowerPoint here. Disappear from me. There we go. And so we're collecting all this data in a combination of in-person and in Google Street View. Thankfully, the Google Street View car came by in March of this year. So there's a lot of properties that are still relevant, but we can't do everything that way. There's a lot of private subdivisions that didn't go through, and also development does happen. We've got good records of that. So we actually need to go through, we need to double check a lot of those properties that maybe there's something that we couldn't adequately view on Street View, or we know that there's been recent development. So we've started looking at areas of the Moorlands, Tustin, Skinker Heights, and there's some early insights. A lot of the points that you see here, they're coming from the Moorlands because that's the area that I've spent the most time with. Architecture does not fit into a neat box, but is consistent with its surroundings. Please do not go and evaluate my architectural selections with too much scrutiny, because any of these properties, they have sort of a combination of things. Like, you might have a Mediterranean inspired building, but it's definitely not going to fit into that Mediterranean character. There's definitely a lot of Tudor inspiration in the Moorlands, but it's not going to fit neatly into a box. However, there is definitely a relationship between all of these buildings in the Moorlands, despite their variability. Also in the Moorlands, front yard character and coverage setbacks are all pretty consistent. all the buildings, they line up very, very well. A lot of the coverage is really, really consistent. Placement of garage is pretty consistent. The finished floor heights have very minimal variation. There's going to be some slight variation because you have changes in terrain, but there's a really consistent character of this block has buildings that are flush with the ground, or this block has foundations. And then kind of an oddball was that asphalt and ribbon drives were or are common, but they are presently prohibited. So I would say that like somewhere between a third and half of all the driveways I saw in the Moorlands were asphalt. And then there's not a ton of ribbon drives that are out there, but there's clearly a lot of driveways that were at one point ribbon driveways. Usually they just got 2 lines of concrete, and you could tell maybe there was grass on either side at one point, but now it's filled in with either a different type of concrete or brick or stone or something of that nature. So the next steps in this process would be to continue that data collection. We also need to verify stuff in the field, and then we want to observe those patterns and report that data and use that data to inform other implementation of those objectives and key results from the comprehensive plan. So with that, do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, I think I may know the answer, but I'm not sure. This may not fit into architectural style, but some neighborhoods have duplexes in them, as does Davis Place. Could duplexes be built again?
That's not, yeah, so we aren't really doing that here, but we did add some protection to the duplexes. If you're maybe a little over a year ago now, I think, where we expanded on that non-conformity protection for them. So prior to that, there was an existing duplex. If it was lost in a fire or something, they would have trouble rebuilding, or they couldn't really expand on the footprint of their duplex, even if it met setbacks. We did make a change. So now where there's an existing duplex, if they do have room to still meet the setback and impervious coverage requirements, they could do an addition on that duplex or rebuild it. But it doesn't currently alter the zoning requirements to allow new duplexes to be built in the R2 district.
Then going back to your description of styles, it seems like most of our neighborhoods are somewhat eclectic in their mixture of styles. And from what I hear is we'd like to maintain that. Is that correct?
This process is more about observation of patterns at the current time rather than specific goals of what the outcome would be for new development.
Okay, let's see what else there is. Susan?
Again, we heard this at the board, and there was a lot of, I think people are appreciative that our staff is handling it, familiar with our neighborhoods and looking with that flexibility, I guess, on trying to find the patterns that go in the different neighborhoods, because it certainly was a theme through our comprehensive planning. So it's a big undertaking, and it seems it's in good hands, and thank you.
Ellen?
Sounds interesting. You know, looking and trying to categorize, I think it's great. You know, then what I see is it gives us a better understanding when we talk about context. We've got something that has been researched and not just our own, you know, walking through a neighborhood. So I'm all for it, and it'll be a lot of work. Greatly appreciated.
Kami?
Yes, that is quite the undertaking. I just had a couple quick questions. So like, for example, like some of the neighborhoods that you have, like what do you do in circumstances where it's like R1 and R2 like combined, you know, like from like a pattern and like side setbacks and things like that when you're like looking for that? How does that kind of work?
So the outcome of the data collection process will be a really, really, really big spreadsheet. So we can isolate those variables if we need to. So if we want to take a look at, okay, what are the patterns in just R2? Or what are the patterns in just this neighborhood despite what is, or in, regardless of what the zoning may be? Or we can just take a look at this neighborhood and we can just take a look at this one type of zoning. So we can dive into all of those kinds of questions once we have all the data collected. That'll be a pretty easy process.
Okay, yeah, because then I like think about like that Beamiston project where it was like block by block and it like wasn't neighborhood and it was like this block has one type of characteristic and this one, and we like made decisions based on that block. So like you're saying with this situation, you can just still do that.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be, really easy to see the patterns once this is completed, because something we can do is we can visualize things in heat maps. So you might see a map that's, okay, what's the cluster of contemporary or modern architecture? And then, an area might be highlighted and we can get, as far out or as specific as we want to get in that circumstance.
So just like if I'm like an architect or developer and I'm like, okay, I want to build on Beamiston, will I be, and you say that in this neighborhood, these are the characteristics. And then I go like uber contemporary and on that block that doesn't fit, does that like cause issue if, like I am meeting, the guidelines of this neighborhood, just not that block? Are we going to be able to say like for specific blocks, we need to have these type of guidelines if that's like what someone's working on?
I think that's a question that's beyond the scope of what we're doing right now.
Okay.
However, the data that we're collecting will be able to inform whatever folks want to do next. So this goes back to that question of, right now we're collecting the data. Does that align with the current zoning regulations? Does that align with any design guidelines? Say something does align, okay, do we like that it aligns or do we not like that it aligns? So that's a question whenever, maybe in the future, depending on what folks want to do with this data, an architect could take a look at this data, or you as the Plan Commission Architecture Review Board could take a look at this data. It could inform the future development process. We're just not to those questions right now because it's just a data collection process at the moment.
And my other quick one was just another one where we approved that multi-tenant in Demond, and like it was an outlier in the height, but the idea was like eventually the other like buildings would be torn down and probably meet the newer height. Is that being taken, or you're just clocking like what's existing only?
And we're just taking a look at what the existing buildings are. If there's a lot that, something has been demolished, but we know something's going to go there from the recent approvals, we can fill in that data. But if a building hasn't been demolished, if we aren't for certain that something's going to go there, then that data is probably just going to be collected as what's the existing conditions.
Yeah, and I'll like stress one thing that Ryan was saying earlier too. This is the data collection point, because when we read that objective of writing neighborhood specific standards, one of the things that we want to get away from is having an unnecessary block by block analysis, because that increases kind of the review process, creates a more burdensome process for staff, for this board, and for people trying to improve their houses. So before we could even write something, first we want to get an idea of what the patterns are. Then we'll be able to come to you guys and the board with all of this data and say, are there areas where we want to write a really prescriptive code that protects certain elements because we're really trying to protect and enhance those elements within an area? Or there are other areas that we can just modify our general architectural standards to do a better job of and apply it that way. So we need to look back through what our codes are to establish what our goals are across the community, and then we'll write it. And then there's alongside, which is going to build off of this first data collection, is that idea of some of our kind of historic development patterns and their relationship to our regulations. So the garage setbacks for detached garages, we have neighborhood patterns where none of the neighborhood meets that. Everybody has a garage that's right on the alley, not 5 feet back, or the width of lots, like he was talking about a 50-foot wide versus a 60-foot wide, or the height, and so on and so forth. So that will be the next step.
Okay. And then like, as far as like actual neighborhoods, whether it's like Claverack or Davis, will those, like within their like trustee and all those guidelines, is this like supersede that, or is it just to help with this, or?
It's completely separate, so we can only enforce and maintain the regulations that are adopted by the city. Now, if Davis Place trustees got together and wanted to, utilize this data for something else, and they decided to adopt additional indentures or whatever it might be for their own process, and it would be up to them to be enforcing those regulations. It wouldn't be through us. So it will be public data, but I don't expect a lot of subdivisions will go through that process.
Jim?
I find the whole process very fascinating, and I think it's going to be a very worthwhile project, because I think once all that data is collected, I think insights are going to jump out that we might not necessarily see on the surface. And I think so much of when these projects come to us, what's being dictated as the character of the neighborhood is kind of the character that the developer or the homeowner are. They're picking out the little bits that they want to just get their project over the finish line. So to have this larger clump of data to say like, oh, here's kind of just the high level what we're seeing across this neighborhood, I think is very valuable. I think we saw it even some tonight where he's saying lots of the houses around me have siding, and it's like, well, yeah, I'm sure they do in some portions, but percentage wise and everything, and just having something like factual and hard to like maybe gently push back on some of those things, or just, I think or I feel this way, and having actual numbers, I think would be great. I don't know who's taking the lead on Claverack Park, but if they'd be willing to have me, I would love to walk the field with whoever that is and just kind of witness the data collection side, and just see that process, to understand that process and then how that evolves with time.
You want to collect data, I'll put you to work. We got a lot of parcels.
I would wholeheartedly volunteer myself for that.
Alrighty.
David?
I don't think I have anything to add. I've seen this presentation already and seen the data before, and just really impressed by what our staff can do in-house. These kind of capabilities within an actual city planning department are pretty rare. Usually you have to go outside and contract for this sort of thing, but really impressive. Good work.
I've never really thought of data collection as being exciting, but in this case, I see that there's an excitement to it because it really will give us some foundation to look forward. And for that, I think it's great. And I'd like to echo David and Susan and everyone else. We are incredibly blessed to have a professional staff that can do it in-house and convey it and communicate it to us clearly so we can make a decision on how to go on. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And yeah, follow up, Brian, we'll put you to work.
Yeah, we could each take our own respective neighborhoods.
Yes. Yeah, that's what we're trying to do, because then, like I said, we're looking for high level patterns. So as long as you're the one who took all of the parcels in Davis Place, it doesn't matter as much if you were slightly different in your characteristic findings than Ryan was, because the pattern will emerge within your neighborhood, and then we'll have to dive in from there. So.
Can I ask one thing and to talk about the trustees and indentures and things that made me think of it. I don't know if that would be helpful on what you're doing, but remember when we moved into Claverack, we were required to have a certain type of roof and all these types of things. You may see in just going through indentures, if there are any there that are clear and easy to read, something to help you identify the patterns. And you also know the origin and when they might have changed. But we certainly had some restrictions and what we have in our neighborhood that were written in those indentures.
Well, I was thinking too, what could also be a real help in this in neighborhoods such as Claverack that are on the National Register. Esley Hamilton, who obviously is a tremendous resource in the county, since retired, but has a very thorough write-up on the neighborhoods that are on the National Register, and that includes a parcel by parcel identification of style, characteristics, and stuff like that. So I was even thinking when I was watching online the Board of Aldermen, I was like, that would be a very nice backstop to have. Not to say like, oh, this is codified and this is what we're going to call it, because I understand you're working with maybe wider buckets than, something very specific, but a nice reference that's sitting there that's talking about the exact same homes and see what another professional labeled something as.
Any further comments? No. Well, I have one last one. I'd like to thank Kami for her several years of service on the Planning Commission and wish you a lot of enjoyment in your new position on the Board of Aldermen.
Thank you. This has been a real honor to work with everybody and just such a great experience to be part of this board. So thank you.
Good. Well, continue your participation. Very good. Jim?
I'd like to go out on a high note of Camry, but I do have one thing, especially earlier we were talking about window signs and I also listening to the Board of Aldermen on Tuesday, it seems like this is something that's maybe been discussed, but the High Life Smoke Shop that has opened up on Clayton has an incredibly large sign in their window. I didn't know if you could just give some sort of insight, because clearly this doesn't meet our sign regulations, and I have a feeling it probably doesn't meet other regulations, and maybe just like a quick, what has been discussed and like what next steps are being taken.
Yeah, there's already a code enforcement case pending with them. So if they fail to provide Ryan what he needs to actually complete the sign permit review and issue a permit, then they will be sent to municipal court.
What's the time frame on that?
I would have to look and see what our inspectors gave them on deadlines.
And we are going to have a discussion with the Board of Aldermen in September just on tobacco regulations and vaping regulations generally.
Cammy, congratulations and good luck on the Board of Aldermen.
Amy, anything else?
Further.
No, you're finished. Helen?
Congratulations, Kami. We will miss you. And that's it.
Susan?
Amy, I look forward to seeing more of you. So,
David?
I don't have anything to add.
Ryan?
Nothing else?
Anna?
Don't have anything further, but I'll follow up when I find the deadlines.
Do have a question about this seat. Does Bridget really like this?
You know what? I've not asked her, and I've not noticed her lean back. So I don't know if maybe somebody changed the setting there today.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, somebody else in the chair. Not you, but
It was a surprise.
there was a meeting in her.
There's usually something where like if you push in, it will lock and then
Yeah.
it can't go back.
There's gonna
and
be a
you
lever
Pull
on
it
it.
out and then
Yeah.
you can recline.
Well,
architectural design of that chair.
But yeah, I've not seen the new mayor lean back in the
Well,
seat just yet.
we'll have to try it. Okay. Okay, we'll see everyone on September 2nd. Enjoy the holiday.